Okay, I'm pleased to say this is all about the e-commerce North event. This is Martin, just to remind you, the CEO of Master Mindset. I'm really pleased today because we're joined by Chris and Tom, who are the Innovation and Strategic Directors of MadeByPi. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
Very well, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really well. I'm looking forward to getting to know you guys. So let's start with that. So why should people come to your talk? What is your experience?
So I think our talk is going to be slightly different because we're looking at the big picture and we're giving practical strategies on how to implement it. So we're all about creating digital experiences that your customers love. So we're very much in the age of the customer. There's a really great report. I literally was just reading it by Harvard Business Review before I walked in unintentionally. As smarmy as that sounds, I was just reading it, saying we are in the age of the customer. So customers have never had more power than before. And what we want to do is really kind of get to know our customers so we can design experiences that they love. So we're going to talk around that, and that's really our basis of our experience.
Yeah, and just the importance of actually involving the customer throughout the entire process, learning from them, and it being very much a kind of just ingrained throughout the entire process and constantly learning and literating from those changes and learning what's working, what's not, and using that to inform kind of best practice throughout and kind of throughout the entire project.
Well, I love that. I mean, you guys are using some really great keywords where you're talking about experiences, you're talking about listening to the customer, which is such a fundamental human skill, but often forgotten in the world. I spend my life trying to help people and teach them to what listening actually is. But let's dive into it a little bit further. So what would be for anyone listening to this, what would be the benefits and the gains of coming to your talk?
So we're going to talk through two broad frameworks of how you can get ideas in your organization and either pick the winners really quickly or fail fast. So the benefits coming to the session is you're probably in an organization where you've got hundreds of ideas floating around, a lot of stakeholders, and you've got no real method to get them out there and field tested. So what happens is a lot of groupthink happens and you never test the ideas and you end up with products and services that don't get launched. So if you come to our session, the promise is we're going to help you launch them.
I guess from my point as well, that we're trying to empower the person who comes to our talk. So we see a lot of challenges constantly on repeat. So I mean, I've just come from a meeting this morning where the challenges that they are facing are very similar challenges than another client that I met the previous week, and so on and so forth. They're very common hurdles, and what we'll be looking at doing is almost giving you a toolkit, a little bit of experience in terms of methods that we've used to overcome those hurdles, and we'll be looking at ultimately empowering the audience to achieve what they're wanting to achieve. Great
insight, guys. Now let's look at the bigger picture, right? Because you're talking about commonalities that you find with the customers for what you deliver. If we looked at the bigger picture of the overall show, why do you think people should come to it?
It's a very broad question. I'm going to take a second to answer. So I think having looked at the people that are speaking, I think some of them are focused on kind of, how to improve click rate and stuff that's quite specific, which is great. We need that. What we're trying to do is help and give practical advice for companies to be more innovative. So fostering an innovative internal culture and not just by actually doing it and showing examples of how we help clients do it. So it's real world examples of innovation that customers will like and hopefully will kind of grow your bottom line. So that's
I think as well, I think we almost look at it as almost two stages back from something. So, for instance, a lot of clients and a lot of talks that I've seen are talking about a specific problem that somebody might have. For instance, cost per acquisition, or it might be conversion rates. What I'd like to think we're good at is almost going two stages back and actually looking at the root causes that are actually causing those particular problems, addressing that and looking at different ways of tackling them as opposed to just optimizing a site and following almost like a vanilla generic list of optimizations. We like to look at the root cause and the businesses, and it might be that, for instance, it's something to do with customer service that might actually be one of the stumbling blocks to do with conversion rates, as opposed to, say, the cart itself and how that's it's a more fundamental understanding.
And just on that point, if I can, Martin, I think a lot of companies started before digital innovation really became a thing. They thought, can we make money off it? Can we build it? Does the user want it?
Really good point.
That's been inverted, So now it's kind of, we design user first. And a lot of Tom's experiences around kind of understanding what users want and then actually designing for them. But we take it a step further, is that we actually say, okay, this is how you turn it into a business. This is how you scale it. This is how you grow it. This is how you develop it. So I think going back to your question, the interesting thing of our talk is that we're connecting all those elements together.
Yeah, no, this is brilliant insight. It's fascinating. Really good. What would you say that has brought you success so far?
Our personal or professional lives, would you say?
Whichever way you want to answer.
I think that would come on to the end of my point just then. So the great thing about MadeByPi is that it's a full service agency. And what that means in real terms is that we do consumer insight, we do digital marketing, we do UX and build, and we do software development. So when a client comes to us with a kind of blank piece of paper, I have the digital challenge, we can design something for them that just fits the entire life cycle.
Right.
The big success is that they have a dedicated point of contact. We can design completely bespoke solutions. We don't have any kind of, we do this service, you know. We have specialists that can attack any problem within reason. So I think that's probably where a lot of our
I think the other key thing for me is the collaboration of that skill set. So for instance, we're not just a team of UX designers or UI designers or a team of back-end developers. It's in effect what we find a lot is at discovery phases or in running in sprints, the amount of input that, say, a back-end developer can do because of their knowledge of Magento or whatever kind of shopping platform that we're working within, their knowledge and experience of previous builds and directions in terms of new Magento platforms and extensions, they can help fundamentally shape a product, and they can bring another viewpoint as well as a client and a consumer to help give us a much more well-rounded, holistic view of that project and the problems within and how to tackle them. And I think that's probably the strength of MadeByPi.
I like that. It's great insight. And what would be your best tip for anyone out there?
Do you want to go first, Chris?
In terms of surviving, in what context?
It could be the context of life. It could be the context of career or building a business. You know, it's whatever's on your guys' minds, I guess.
I would say, let's see if someone agrees. I would say the number one thing I've seen, working in broadly this industry for a while, are people build stuff that consumers just don't want.
Right.
If they just thought at the concept level, the idea level, do people want this? It would save a lot of time and energy. So I think, you know, you can either use a consultancy to help you do that, or you can do that internally. I think you have to validate your ideas very, very quickly. You have to be prepared to fail fast as opposed to fail agonizingly slowly, little bit by little bit on a waterfall project for many weeks. I think that's the key thing really for a big organization.
Wonderful.
I think as well, I mean, recently I watched a talk by Booking.com, and they're obviously famous for carrying out like hundreds of UX tests, kind of A/B testing on the site just all the time. And one of the key things kind of from their kind of talk, which is something that I would echo, is the fact that sometimes you can learn the most from failing as opposed to doing something correctly. So like, for instance, we can learn and shape future decisions based on something that we know, something that didn't work. Yeah. So, and I think that sometimes even going wrong can help put you on the path to success quicker than even just stumbling along and making kind of small, mediocre challenges, kind of improvements to the site. And I think that's what the talk and what we're kind of really quite enthusiastic about doing is, and this is why it's kind of talking about this idea of being brave, is the fact that as a company, we want to challenge you as a company and as a brand to think a little bit outside of the box and think about new ways of tackling problems. And that's such a good point. And I think on top of that as well is that you can fail and you can do it without any reputational risk if you use certain processes. If you de-brand your concept or your product and service, you can fail without anyone really knowing. You know, the worst thing you can do is create a product service, an e-commerce product service, whatever it is, take it to market and then realize it just doesn't work. You know, you can fail before that point and then spit out the other 10, 15, 20 ideas in your organization that actually deserve to see the light of day. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there we go. It's brilliant. Okay. Two young gentlemen in front of me, right? So we're going to talk about this magical thing called hindsight. What is the one thing that you wish somebody had told you, you know, 5, 10 years ago?
Oh, God.
What wrote that down? Oh, so I was right. Okay, so I was thinking about this because this came up obviously in your email. Yeah. For me, the key thing that I kind of wrote down was this idea of like being true to myself and being true to others as well. So quite a lot of the time, I think there's a tendency of trying to pigeonhole people and organizations. And as an agency, we see this where we kind of like, while we're knowledgeable, we can't predict the future. So quite a lot of the time, the journeys that we go on, we're on a journey together. And I think it's that idea of like not being frightened of like failing together and just being almost open to change and people challenging ideas as well. I think for too long, I think probably when I was younger and a lot of kind of young designers, one of the key things that they kind of don't take on board is criticism particularly well. Criticism. And it's that open mindset of, and what we find when we run sessions, especially is it might be, we do like open sessions where, for instance, a lot of our companies have call center staff or might have internal customer service teams. And they'll be like, it might be something to do with discount codes. And they'll be like, I really hate it when you print it in all caps and it errors when people put it in lowercase. And it's like things like that that just shed knowledge on something. And I think that would be my kind of key taking, would be to always listen to as many different people as possible. And I'd follow it up by saying point 2, if I can be really cheeky, would be to always be curious. Always be curious about everything, how stuff works, why things are done a certain way, and just really kind of learn from it and think about it.
Well, I've got to say that's 2 really inspirational, innovative, very different points of view. And I spend my entire life trying to help people deal with fear and look at the psychology of it and things like that. So I can tell you that these 2 gentlemen have a wonderful outlook on life, and it's partly why they're successful. Now, for anybody watching that, there's a lot more innovators and inspirational people. There's a lot of exhibitors and things like that as well. So if you're a CEO, if you're a business owner, if you're a founder, if you work in marketing, sales, e-com, design, whatever it happens to be, then you can register this event. And I, for one, will be in the front row watching Chris and Tom as they talk, and they'll hope that you can do the same thing as well. So thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you very much.